Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Big Chill Podcast. This is episode 425, Career Day. Hello, Big Chillians, and welcome back to the Big Chill Podcast. I'm Frank, joined as always with Eddie. Eddie, would you rather start with a food or a drink story?
Let's go food.
Food, okay. Heinz, the makers of the famous ketchup, is unveiling a new dipping concoction. It's called the Dip and Crunch. Have you heard of this?
No, I don't closely follow the news and updates from Heinz.
Oh, well, you should start following them on Instagram. So this one, it's a special sauce. So it's made from tomato puree, molasses, sun-dried tomatoes, garlic powder, tamarind, onion powder, and spices. So slightly sounds kind of like a special sauce that, you know, like Cane's or In-N-Out or any of them make. But then it's two components. So that is the sauce. And then the other component is crumpled up potato chips, with the idea that you dip it in the sauce and then into the potato chips to eat your burger or sandwich.
I'm just not a fan of this kind of stuff. It seems totally unnecessary.
Yeah, not a fan of the potato chip in the sandwich.
I mean, no, to be honest. I mean, I wouldn't, if someone made me a sandwich in it and they stuck potato chips in there, it wouldn't upset me. But I would rather have potato chips on the side if I'm going to eat a sandwich. Like, I don't need to stick them inside for the added texture or whatever it is.
You don't need that crunch value. No.
I can add a pickle or something for some crunch.
So they tested it earlier this year at a Jack in the Box, like a few in the West Coast, and supposedly people went ballistic for them. Maybe that was because Jack in the Box is so gross that they needed something to tamper down the awful taste.
I mean, it's also one of those things too, though. If you make it a novelty and if it's a limited edition or limited time only, people just lose their minds. Even if they don't like it, they just have to have it. It's like the kind of McRib concept, right? Like, people can not love the McRib all that much, but if you tell them all the McRib is on sale next week for just next week, they go and buy a McRib.
Go wild.
So what's the drink? Is it...
Oh, you want to do the choose your own adventure, but choose both adventures?
I didn't realize they were mutually exclusive. I thought it was which story are we starting with, not which is the story you're being told.
Well, I guess you have a special choose your own adventure. You get both stories. This comes from us, from our friends at BuzzFeed. Clickbait just for you. Do you want to guess at what the title is?
No, this is impossible. I don't know where you think I'm just going to talk.
I bet you could. Bartenders are sharing their unspoken rules that they're tired of everyone breaking.
I hate this crap. I hate this so much.
I know you do.
For context, for listeners who are unaware, I spent a significant amount of time in my sort of like when I was in university and then in my early 20s working in bars. So it is, you know, I am familiar with the struggles of working in a bar, but consistently what annoys me is this idea that it's the idea that in any way the frustrations that bar staff have with customers are different from the frustrations that anyone who ever deals with customers will have. Like, okay, the drunken
humans for some of them.
It's like, it's just, people are annoying. When you have to deal with other people, it is annoying most of the time. Okay, when they're drunk, maybe a little bit the dynamic shifts slightly, but fundamentally it's just down to the fact that people are rude and annoying. The other thing that really bothers me before we get to your list, and bar staff are not alone in doing this. I hate it when comedians also fall into this. They'll like refer to non-bar staff or non-comedians as sort of like civilians, you know, like as if there's comedians love to do this.
Like
You'll
muggles.
as if, you know, as if they're in the, you know, the military, but just this concept that like, oh no, what we do, no one else can possibly relate to how unique it is.
You can't understand it.
You can't understand what it is to like, I work at night. You don't get it. I go to sleep at 4 a.m. and I don't wake up till 11. You couldn't wrap your head around this concept. You know, like, it's all these crazy stuff. All my friends are funny. You wouldn't get it. It's so
That's the
stupid.
comedian bit. That's not bartenders, right?
Yeah, although I'd argue that most bartenders probably funnier than most comedians, but yeah.
Wow, it's a hot take. Should we just start going into random bars and be like, all right, you got 5 minutes. Give us
Give
your
me your
best stand up.
give me your best set.
That'd actually be really funny.
Can you do crowd work?
I'm sure I would actually, there's got to be a decent amount of comedians who are bartenders because of the whole like night aspect.
Yeah. Although in some ways, I guess it depends on the kind of bar work. In some ways you're kind of eating up when you would be a comedian.
But yeah, it's kind of what I'm thinking though is if like, you're always up being a comedian, the days you're not on set, maybe you're bartending because you're just used to that time slot
I guess, but I think if you're a struggling comedian and you're just trying to get stage time, you're going to like open
every
mics
day.
and stuff, you need your night free.
True.
So maybe you're working as a waiter during the day or something flexible like that, or working in a bar during the day. But yeah, I think if you're working a night job, it would just make it virtually impossible to get anywhere.
Yeah.
I know people have been dying for our take on how they can pursue their career in bartending and stand-up comedy simultaneously.
Quite the niche. Okay, so these are so bad. Have your order ready when I get to you. Don't start
This is
asking people what you want. That's a general life complaint. I don't want someone to come up to me and then when they're about to speak, go, can you give me 20 seconds before we start talking?
Yep. Same if you're in McDonald's
Yeah.
and you're waiting in line and someone gets to the front of the line and then says, "Oh, I'm not sure. Can you recommend something?" I mean, less likely to happen
Whoa,
at
whoa, whoa,
McDonald's.
whoa! Don't combine ones, Eddie, because you just combined one there.
Oh, sorry. But I mean, those two do tend to relate to each other because you do tend to get the person who doesn't know what they want and then asks for the recommendation. And I do get it if it's I think that comes down to the bar you're in, though. If you're dealing with a really packed bar, it is very frustrating to be kind of running from one person to the next. And that person has had quite a bit of time to figure out what they want, and to get to them and they don't know what they want. It is frustrating.
Or
And
the
if
type
it's,
of bar too, right? Like if
yeah,
it's a nice fancy cocktail bar, then maybe you
fine.
ask, like, what do you suggest? This is what I like.
It's part of your job then to help someone out. If you're calling yourself a mixologist and not a bartender, then you probably are going to be you need to be willing to give people recommendations.
Yeah. Former host of the podcast, Sam, used to call himself a cockologist, but that's a little different. Oh, sorry, cocktailologist. Sorry. Okay. Speak up. There's loud music.
I never had a big issue with it. I worked in very loud bars. I never had a big issue with that.
What beers do you have? Same one.
It's annoying, but at the same time, I do kind of understand it. Like I find a lot of the things that people would get annoyed as when they're working in bars, they will fall into the trap of doing when they're not working. Like I still go to bars and I do try and see, like, is there a menu somewhere? Are they written on the wall? People will ask you, what beers do you have, while they're standing directly in front of the beer taps that list all the beers. But I mean, sometimes I get it.
Yeah. How about this one? Does this used to piss you off, Eddie? Don't wave your hand, even with money. Still don't. We know you're thirsty. That's why you're here.
The waving hands, like snapping your fingers, whistling, which does happen. All of those
what's
things.
the most annoying thing someone's done to try and get your attention?
I think clicking your fingers. I just wouldn't serve you. I mean, I was lucky enough to work in places where you were just able to turn someone away if you really wanted to. If they had annoyed you enough, that was reason enough for them to just. I mean, they weren't being like turfed out of the bar, but that was reason enough for them to just be ignored. And if you snapped your fingers at me, I was probably going to snap them back and then ignore.
You mean like you'd snap their fingers?
Yes. Yeah.
Break
exactly.
Them. Exactly.
Yeah.
Or how about this? Would this piss you off, Eddie? Do not call me barmaid, serving wench, etc.
Yeah. Well, people call me serving wench all the time. Yeah. Yeah. Look, I can understand that. I mean, and I hated when people used any kind of sort of name for me,
like chief,
anything. I mean, French people love chef. And you would get a lot of chef.
But chef means boss. It's a little different.
It does.
Right? So
but
for listeners who don't know that.
Yeah, they didn't think I was. They didn't think I was going into the back to cook. Yeah, no.
Not back there flipping burgers.
No. But yeah, I hate it in general. Even if it was kind of complimentary, like like say someone in English saying boss, like, hey boss, could I get a beer? I always felt like there was an undertone
Yeah.
of condescension. And I didn't like that at all. Just say, excuse me, hey, whatever. You don't need to throw a nickname in on top of it.
What about when you're coaching the 16-year-old girls from the soccer team that you coach and you're serving them? Is it okay to say, hey, coach?
Coach Eddie, I mean, there was a period in
Coach
my
Eddie.
life, yeah, where
Okay.
Coach Eddie got used, but I was their coach, so that was fine.
Oh, that's okay. Okay.
Yeah. And maybe, you know what, maybe I should go like NFL Network standard and just insist that you call me coach still.
How about chain ordering? Did you hate that?
Is that ordering one by one? Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Like,
you
can I
make a
get a
drink, you
this?
come
Wait,
back, you
also
make a drink.
this, and I needed this.
Yes. Again, there are moments where it's understandable, like someone's come and asked them for something else or they've forgotten something. If you do it more than once, I would just turn around and say, is there going to be anything else? And if at that moment you say no and then try and add on, you're kind of back of the line. That was just how I
This
would
is my
approach it.
favorite one. Don't eat the fruit out of the fruit tray. That fruit is for drinks, not your grubby fingers.
Never seen anyone do that. Legitimately never seen anyone
Are
do
you
it.
serious? Because I
No.
know one of our friends who's done it.
Who?
Tim has done that. I've
Oh,
seen Tim do that at a bar.
I've never seen anyone do that. I will say this: I never worked in a bar where the fruit tray would have been accessible to the clients.
Oh.
It would have been at the back of, you know, I don't know why you'd be sticking anything that you were using to serve people on the sort of the front of the bar. That bit's weird to me anyway. I would say that's poor bar management.
Yeah. The rest of them are all basically don't slap the bar, don't ask for a stronger drink,
Yeah, look, I mean, I think,
don't serve after closing.
yeah, but again, these are, and this is the thing. All of these things that bartenders will complain about, they will be guilty of doing themselves at one moment in time. So, I mean, not all of them, I guess. There are some that are just flat out rude, but
Oh, how about this one, Eddie? How many times has this happened to you? Don't reach behind the bar and try and grab me.
oh, that happens a lot.
Like
That
ass
happens.
or
People
arm?
arm. I mean, if it was a sexual contact, that I would have been fine with that. But no, it's people. It's people grabbing you to get your attention. You're walking by, they're reaching out and grabbing you, or you'll be making a drink with your back, you know, to that person, and then they're reaching to kind of get your attention. That happens on a nightly basis.
If they do that, do you then just grab their head and smash it on the bar? Is that
No, I'd grab their
protocol?
arm. I'd grab their wrist a lot and twist
So
their
if
wrist.
someone snaps fingers, you snap their fingers. If someone grabs your arm, you grab their arm back.
Oh no, if you grabbed me, I would be grabbing your wrist and twisting your wrist for sure, and you would know not to do that again.
like
That
like
was
a
definitely
like a
happening.
twist burn, like when you twist and burn someone's.
Just one, and you know, you
Oh,
just
okay.
take one arm on their wrist and just twist their wrist a bit. I wasn't gonna like snap your arm, but it was not gonna feel great. You were gonna know that I didn't enjoy it.
How about if someone tried to get behind the bar?
I mean that did happen too. That was rare though,
Well, actually,
and mostly
one
that's
I think
like
that could happen. What about the? Because like where the taps were where you worked, they were up front. How often were people trying to like fill their own beer up?
pour their own beer. Not as often as you'd think. I think for the most part, people are smart enough to know that there's no way they can get away with that. You do see people do that. Occasionally, people would be so annoyed or frustrated that they would intentionally push the tap to, you know, and that was their kind of anger move, that I was going to really care about the waste that was going on. But yeah, no, that didn't happen. The only time I've ever really seen that happen to a great degree, I have a friend in university, and we used to go to a bar regularly that had two floors, and the top floor also had its own bar, but it was rarely open. So you know, you'd kind of have the bar space up there that you'd go and sit, but the actual bar itself rarely had anyone working behind it. And one day, but the lines and the wait time downstairs sometimes would be just forever if there was a big match on or something, or if it was just like a night where a lot of students were out. And one day he got so frustrated, he just went and poured himself a beer. He was surprised to find out that the taps weren't switched off. And he just poured himself a beer and then left the money on the counter for the cost of the pint. So he just left it there in change. And then a bouncer was immediately upstairs grabbing him and dragging him out. And he tried to argue that he'd paid for it. Like, it wasn't like he was trying to steal anything, but he got barred. Understandably so. But yeah, he was never allowed back in.
Last one. Don't rip my expensive North Face jacket. Have you ever seen someone at a bar do that to someone who works at a bar?
Yeah. And I've seen that same person stick their fingers up that guy's butt.
That one wasn't on there, but
No. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in general, that's a good rule of thumb anyway. Don't wear expensive or nice clothes when you're working. I mean, I think everyone makes that mistake at one moment or another. You think, oh, I look really good. I should wear this for my Friday night shift.
thought you were going with the other story for that.
Don't have fingers stuck up your butt. Depends on who you are. Some people like it.
Maybe not during work hours.
That was after shift, in fairness.
Okay. Then anything goes, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it wasn't on the list, because he technically wasn't working.
Yeah. But I guess speaking of some of my past professions, we did mention this on an episode a few weeks ago, but on Friday I went back to an old school of mine to inspire the generation of tomorrow.
Great. I hope they just listened to the first 15 minutes
of this podcast. I did not bring the podcast up. I didn't consider. I know we have an explicit rating. I don't actually think there's that often where our discussions are probably inappropriate for a 14-year-old. Most of the time it's fairly normal with the occasional swear word, but it's not too bad. But yeah, I didn't feel comfortable telling them about the podcast experience because I didn't want to have to. I thought I could maybe get in trouble for recommending a technically explicitly rated podcast to a bunch of 12 to 14-year-olds. But no, I went back to just speak to them about my career and inspire them and show them the unusual career paths that you can have and the different things they may not have thought about doing that were available to them once they got out of university. For the most part, it gave me a lot of respect for middle school teachers. I will say that, because I had 3 different groups for 35 minutes each, keeping them engaged. And these groups were only 7 or 8 students each. Keeping them engaged for that period of time was a challenge. And you kind of fell into it takes you right back to school. There are 2 or 3 of them who are into it. And then there are 4 or 5 of them who just would rather be anywhere else on earth. And it was also the day before spring break, and they were clearly just counting down the minutes until spring break was about to start. And the only interesting thing that kind of came out, I mean, there were some interesting discussions with them about careers, but the thing that made me really laugh, there was one moment I realized I kind of lost this group, and we had about 5 minutes to go. So I just decided to ask them where they were going on spring break, to just be like, I'll give up on any kind of conversation about careers.
Do middle schoolers go to spring break?
I mean, they're not going to Cancun, but they're going away with their family. Yeah.
There's probably one who was like, Cancun, motherfucker.
One of them was going to Dubai, so that's not bad.
Close enough.
One was going to Monaco.
Oh,
and
did you find out the parents for that one? That might be a good connection.
But yeah, and so we kind of went through just quickly where they were going, and then they asked me where I was going. And I said, I don't get spring break. And they were stunned by this. This was like a revelation for these kids that you don't get spring break as an adult, which kind of surprised me because I feel like as a 12 to 14-year-old, I understood that my parents did not get the same time off that I got as a student. But all of them were stunned by this. And then I said, yeah, and it gets even worse. I don't get 3 months off over the summer either. And then they lost their minds. And one girl was she said, she was like, are you serious? She's like, how many weeks off do you get per year then? And I said, I mean, like, you get a lot in France, but I probably get 6 to 8 weeks off per year. And she was like, only 8 weeks? Well, that's a lot when you're an adult. And she turned around, she kind of stared at me for a second. She said, I'm going to kill myself before I become an adult. Wow. My career day has been successful. I have successfully inspired one person.
Wow. Or maybe you got the help that person needed.
Yeah, no. She seemed to have, she then proceeded she was in the first group, and when her group finished, she then said, "Oh, who's in your next group?" And I read off a list of names, and she went, "They all suck. None of them are cool kids." I said, "I'll tell them you said that," and she said, "Do it. I don't care," and walked out.
Wow. Don't give an
Yeah,
F.
she was clearly high up
The social
social
ladder
ladder
chain.
within the school. Yeah.
Did she tell you to stop trying to make fetch happen?
To make what happen?
Fetch.
Fetch.
It's from
This is a
girls.
reference that I. But yeah,
Never mind.
it was interesting. It was interesting. It's strange. Well, I mean, I know you're in a university all the time, so you kind of get to experience that on an almost daily basis. But it is very weird walking back into a school. I think the thing that I remembered, I saw
Well, let
some
me
old.
clarify though. The university school is quite different than like the way a high school is formed.
No, for sure, but it's still people at a time of their lives that you will never experience again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's, and it's like a flashback to that. And I think if I revisited my university, I'd have that same weird feeling, but you might not because you kind of still exist within that constantly.
You'd have the
But
feeling of like, where did it all go wrong?
I will say this: I maybe this, and this is an interesting question for you, because I spoke to a couple of old teachers. Some of them I was speaking to, I cannot remember how I passed some classes. If you see, like, I wasn't a bad student, but I legitimately, I know if you sat me down and gave me a calculus exam right now, that I would fail it miserably. Like, I cannot remember any of that. And there is part of me that genuinely can't remember ever knowing it. Like, there's things I know I've forgotten, if you see what I mean. Like, I can remember, oh, yeah, I, for the most part, at one
Yeah.
moment in time, knew this. But stuff like calculus, some aspects of physics, I just can't remember ever knowing it.
Welcome to my world, Eddie. Every
Yeah, I mean,
day of my life.
you have a terrible memory, so it's a very different. But you know what I mean? Like I just think back on some stuff from being a student, and I just think I like I can't. And I never have those dreams of like of the waking up for a test you don't have or any of that bit. But I do legitimately sometimes dream just about the test experience and just being baffled by the fact that at any moment in my life I actually took this test. I think that's the thing, just kind of blows my mind. I almost have more respect for 15-year-old me than I have for 34-year-old me.
For me, it's I don't actually remember taking some of the classes I took. Like I don't remember what my senior year English was.
When you mean what do you mean you don't
Like
remember what it was?
I don't remember who the teacher was. I don't
Oh my
remember like what the
god.
classroom was. I don't remember what we read or anything. I don't know if I even had senior English. I had to have.
Okay, see that I'm not that bad. Yeah, that might just be early onset dementia. I think that's that's your CTE. That's different.
If you asked me what books did we read in high school,
You couldn't name one.
I could maybe name one.
And would that be a guess though? Would it just be like I know people
No,
read The
because
Great
I remember.
Gatsby?
No, no, I remember. Actually, I don't remember what the name of it is.
Just remember book.
I remember a book.
Me read book one day.
Yeah, and we read a lot too.
Yeah. I mean there's part of it. There's like elements of being it kind of blows my mind like how early I got up to go to school. That's another part when I think back on being a kid. You know what I mean? Like I was at school at 7:30 in the morning. I was consistently waking up.
Wow, I think that's pretty early.
Yeah. I mean
I
the
remember
worst
eight
was
thirty.
we've spoken about my swimming days and all those records I hold in Salt Lake City. There was a period when the swim team would start before school. The swim team I was on was not part of our school system. It was a separate swim team, but we would go to practice before school. So we'd go to practice at like 6 in the morning, and then we'd go to practice again after school. and that's like something I couldn't do now. If you see what I mean, not the fitness or anything. It's just literally the being
Well,
awake
maybe
and
the
functioning.
fitness too, but
Oh, the thing, yeah, no, of course,
but I would argue that most adults now, if they're doing some level of fitness, it's probably that early in the morning.
yeah, yeah. They're probably not doing 2-a-days though.
No, probably not doing 2 days.
But, yeah, we can do the normal reminder. If you aren't following us on Instagram or Twitter, search for us. Search for the Big Chill Podcast on either one. I think we're kind of more active on Twitter than we are on Instagram, but we're working on improving our activity on both fronts. And then you can also search for the Big Chill Podcast on YouTube and follow and subscribe there. Again, most stuff doesn't go out on the YouTube channel, but there are occasionally videos that only go out on YouTube that do not make the podcast itself. And also, our interviews do go up on our YouTube channel, so it's an opportunity to see our guests, and it's also the interview only segment. So sometimes if you want to catch the interview but you don't want to deal with the first 30 minutes, that's the place to do it. And also, if you are listening, always great, as I say, if you can recommend the podcast to a friend. But most importantly, please leave, a review and a rating. It just helps us with the old podcast algorithm. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you do.